She giggled as she ran to the seashore, trying to get away from the man who was trying to catch her. She couldn't compare to his pace, thanks to his long legs. She screamed, picking up a pace as he continued to run after her while the two laughed. You can't run away from me, sweetheart, the man said, and she easily melted at his words. Within the next two strides, his arms wrapped around her. She screamed and laughed out of joy when he picked her up and spun her around. Her vision suddenly got distorted and started to turn black. Vine woke up on a hospital bed, realizing it was a dream. Just a beautiful dream, which was not a reality anymore. She looked around and saw her brother holding a baby, her child. Vine's brother. Are you alright, Vine? Her brother asked. She smiled and nodded. Vine. Yes. When did you get here? She felt exhausted and very confused. Vine's brother. You called me. Don't you remember? She was starting to remember things slowly. Vine. Oh, right. I remember now. She sat up and took her baby from him and looked at him. She smiled seeing his beautiful face. It reminded her so much of his father. He was closing his eyes and didn't move too much. It worried her that he looked so small. Vine, is it a boy or a girl? She said, looking at her brother. She couldn't tell his gender just by looking at his face. Vine's brother. It's a healthy baby girl. Congratulations, Vine. Now do you mind telling me who's her father? He asked, smiling. She didn't know how to answer, so she looked down. She didn't tell her family that she got married after running away from home. She was actually really surprised that her brother was treating her this well. But still, she didn't want to tell him. Vine, it's just someone I met at the bar. She tried lying to him. Vine's brother, just tell me, I won't tell our parents. He said, maintaining his small smile. Vine, I'm telling the truth. She blushed and looked at him. She was so afraid of what her family would do if they found out. Her brother sighed, his smile disappearing. Vine's brother, I understand. Do you at least have a place to stay? Do you need anything? He wasn't angry, and she felt like he genuinely wanted to help her. She shook her head, however. Vine's brother, well, call me if you need anything. He smiled, then left the room. She wondered if she did the right thing by not telling her family. She looked down at her baby girl, petting her head, and wondered what she was going to name her. She already had a few names in mind, but was conflicted about which to choose. One. So, what if your father isn't here? Your mother is, and I won't let you ever feel his absence. Her eyes teared up a little, remembering her husband, who abandoned her. They were so in love, he treated her like a queen. It was too good to be real, and guessed maybe that's why it never lasted. They were doing so good. Then one day he woke up and asked her to leave and never come back. When she cried, asking for a reason, he cursed at her and shut the door on her face. She wiped her tears, being too happy to worry about anything for now. However, the surgery was taking its toll on her body, making her feel exhausted. She wanted to rest her eyes for a few minutes, but she accidentally fell asleep. having pleasant dreams about how she was going to raise her daughter. She woke up at the loud thud and saw an angry man marching inside. Her heartbeat was too fast due to sudden happenings, but slowly it dropped till she felt her heart might even stop beating. Wine. Jungkook, what are you doing here? The pain in her heart raced to her throat, hurting her deeply. Jungkook's eyes fell on the baby in Wine's arms. He couldn't see the face, but the presence alone was quite painful to him. Jungkook, and what do you think you did? Wine tightened her arms around her baby. Seeing Jungkook with a gun was never this scary. Back then, when she knew she was safe in his presence. To add into her pain, she couldn't feel protected in his presence anymore. It killed her. How it felt like her heart was shattering into pieces all over again. Wine, I don't want to see you. Leave. Her eyes teared up. His presence made her unable to breathe. Jungkook, you have changed. His eyes were red, reflecting emotions that matched betrayal and lack of sleep. Wine, says the one who threw me out on streets. She yelled, getting so done with this, and her tears slipped. Get out. Leave us alone, now. From no angle, he looked like the man she loved so deeply. His hands were shaking as he held the gun so tightly in them, red eyes and veins so visible as he suddenly raised his gun, pointing it towards the newborn baby. Wine screamed, heart in her throat as she covered the baby with her body. Wine, what are you doing? Stop. Jungkook, get out of my way, Wine. This needs to end here, right now. She cried loudly while screaming for help. The baby started to cry alongside. She was scared. The word fear was not enough to explain how terrified she was at that moment. Wine, you have turned into a monster. She heard the sound of safety removing from the gun. Her body shook in fear and she completely covered the baby using herself. Jungkook, if you don't move away, I'm going to throw this child out of the window. Wine, stop it. Stop it, stop it. Jungkook, why are you protecting it? He screamed, kicking the glass table, which flew against the wall, shattering into pieces, adding to the fear the mother and daughter felt. Sir, he heard. The door opened and along entered one of his men he assigned a task, holding a piece of paper. You might want to see this, the man said as he handed Jungkook the paper and left. Wine didn't know what was in that paper, but it was shocking enough to weaken his knees. The gun fell out of his hands alongside the paper and he stepped back. Jungkook, that child is mine. To be continued.